Today, we're going to be shedding light on the consistent national grid collapse. And I'm your host this morning. My name is Jadel Simon. And joining me to discuss this is the MD CEO of the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors. Good morning, Chief Sunday Oduton. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
So, I was having a conversation a couple of days ago with a friend of mine, and I got to realize that not everybody in Nigeria understands what it means when the news reports that there's a national grid collapse. So, I would like us to begin by shedding light on that. Please educate us. What exactly does it mean to the common man?
Um, the Nigerian power sector has three segments. The segments can be described as producer, distributor, like any other product, like any other good. Now, in the case of national grid, that is the one in the middle. So you have the producer, otherwise known technically as generation companies. They are the one that generate electricity. The one in the middle is called Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. They are the one that wield the power, that is, they transport the power from the point of generation to the point of distribution. Then the one below that value chain is called electricity distribution companies. And those are the companies that I represent. There are 12 of them now. So that is what is called the GISCO. Now, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, people know the pole, they call it high tension line. That's what Nigerians call it. The very big pole, the transmission line, the towers, very big one. They call them high tension, that big one. Now, anytime something happens to that line, that's when every light will go off. The electricity will just go off everywhere, especially in the area where those things occur.
Before we delve into what is even happening in the north currently, I would like to say, in just 1 year, Nigeria has experienced six national cases of the grid collapsing. I would like to find out, what would you say are the main causes of the frequent collapse of Nigeria's national grid? And why have we seen at least six cases in just 1 year? Like, how does it happen?
Number one, to buttress your point, let me add to what you just said in terms of statistics. The national grid, Nigeria national grid has collapsed 105 times in the last 10 years. Okay. But in fairness to the government, in fairness to TCN management, and that's what I was trying to say earlier, it is not every time there is total blackout that the national grid actually collapses.
Okay.
Sometimes what I can call grid disturbances occurred. What is going on today in the northern states is vandalization of the assets. The
Interesting.
bandits, they hit and destroyed the high tension lines. Once they do that, there will not be life. And then we'll be blaming government. We cannot blame the government for that. We cannot blame the TCM for that. They are making all effort now to restore electricity back. So this is not about the national grid collapse. The national grid did not collapse right now. What is going on now? It is vandalism of the national grid by the
Understood, sir.
bandits.
I agree with you because, you're the right person to tell us exactly what is happening in the north. However, in this year, the national grid has been reported to collapse at least about 3, 4 times. So in these cases, I would like to say, tell us, Nigerians want to know, what are the causes? What, like, when we hear that the national grid has collapsed, what is the root cause? What can we say, this is the reason why the national grid collapsed? Because most times we just hear reports that, oh, the national grid has collapsed and the citizens do not have concrete knowledge or any information whatsoever about what exactly is happening.
First of all, I want us to remember that the transmission company of Nigeria was not privatized. It is 100% owned by the government. So it is being run by the government. Now, the problem with the national grid has been a total neglect over the past 50 years. This is nothing to do with the civilian government that started in 1999. It is a continuous problem. They inherited it, and I can say not enough has been done to solve the problem. However, the transmission grid is in dire need of more investment. And like I said, we have to balance this. We have to be fair to different governments, successive governments. The last government,
Sir,
they started
please, sir.
the cement program that was aimed at bringing equipment and trying to replace the old equipment. The national grid collapse that occurred about 2 weeks ago was because one transformer in Jeba exploded. That transformer is 47 years old. So when things like this happen, it affects the whole grid. And the other problem with the national grid over time is that the Nigerian transmission grid is radial in nature. When we say it is radial, it means that it goes straight without any loop. If there's a loop, once there's a problem in Jeba, with the press of a button, you can isolate Jeba and continue to supply electricity to other places. That is part of the problem that we have. And I'm sure the government now, this current government, understand it, and I believe they are on top of it because they also know that they have to create a better national grid than what we currently have.
Thank
So
you,
three
sir.
things are required. There's a need for loop. Number two, they need to have what is called SCADA. SCADA is an equipment that is used to monitor the national grid live. So that once there's a problem somewhere, they can know it and isolate it. That one is 70% completed according to the government right now. Because 2 days ago, we were at the Senate and the Minister of Power was there and all stakeholders were there, and we all understood better where we are. The
All
third thing
right.
we need to have is what we call spinning reserve. Spinning reserve means when you generate electricity, you have some extra that is available. As people are demanding for electricity, you have to bring it in because there's something called frequency. I don't want to use too many technical terms, but when you're talking about the grid, there's a minimum and a maximum. They cannot go, the electricity supply or availability cannot go below the minimum. If it does, the grid will collapse. It cannot go above the maximum. If it does, the grid will collapse. So they have to maintain and stabilize the grid. That is what is going
Interesting.
on. And
All
that is
right.
why right now what we need to do is investment, more
Thank,
investment.
thank you for shedding light on that. Another vital question that I would like to ask is, currently, what measures are currently being put in place to ensure that future events like this are prevented?
Well, number one, for the current situation in the north, the first major thing to do is for the security agencies to combat this act of terrorism and banditry. Even the transmission company of Nigeria or Federal Ministry of Power, they cannot go to that location to do any repair. If you cannot go there to do repair, how can you solve the problem? That is why I say we believe that it is time that we stop politicizing issues to do with the Nigerian power sector. It is time to focus more on solving problems. And to do that, there's a need for all of us to work together as stakeholders. Because right now, the security agencies need to help the power sector for the transmission company of Nigeria to be able to restore electricity to those northern states and be able to get back to work.
Besides the north, the case in the north, I would like to find out what exactly are preventive measures that are currently being put in place to ensure that this consistent national grid failure does not continue to happen. Are there like any informations from the government to your organization on how these measures, can be put in place to curb this situation?
Well, I can confirm that a lot of measures have been put in place by the government. They are even talking now of regional grid. They are trying to bring on board equipment that will make it possible for us to have a loop so that if there's a problem in one location, it does not affect the whole country. That's the bit, that's the point about the loop. And I believe that with incremental generation, increase in generation of electricity, that will also help us because once the equipment keep coming, the cement program started way back. The idea of um, renewing the national grid started from Mr. Jonathan's government to Mr. Buhari's government, and the current government have continued that with that. But you see, when you have a 47-year-old equipment, unless and until you replace those equipment, you cannot have a good national grid. So that's what they are doing now. They are replacing the equipment. They are trying as much as possible to bring on board more technology, better technology that will help this dilapidated infrastructure. It's all about neglect over the years. Whatever you failed to do in 1984 will catch up with you in 2024. That's what we're dealing with. It's not about blaming anybody, it's about the fact that Nigerian government over the years have neglected what they should do to the power sector. And in the case of funding, you will hear, oh, they spend so much. When we allocate money to this sector, we should follow the money. We should track it. We should ensure that money is spent on what we need to spend it on. And before we start new projects, the old ones that are old and that need to be replaced should be the priority. It's like having children. If you have 4 children and you are not training them properly, you have not given them education, you have not paid their school fees, why do you have to go and impregnate your wife and want to have another baby? Before you have a new baby, please take care of the old one first. That's the thing with the national grid. There's a need for government to concentrate on infrastructural renewal all over. And I'm aware some of these are going on, but the money that is required is so much, trillions. So we cannot expect the government to fix it in 12 months. That is the truth.
That's interesting. I would like to also ask, what are the financial implications of repeated grid collapse on electricity distribution companies?
Well, it is a lot. Every time the grid collapses, because we the electricity distribution companies, are the one that we're the one that customers abuse, we're the one that come to collect money. Once we cannot give you the service, surely we cannot collect the money. And once we cannot collect the money, we cannot be able to pay the market. And every time we collect money from you, barely 25% of it is what belongs to us. The rest, over 75%, has to be paid upstream to the market. The generation company need to be paid for producing electricity. They also have to pay gas suppliers, which is what they use as fuel for their plants. The transmission company that we're talking about has to be paid for their services. They do a lot of repair. They have to maintain the grid. So there are a lot of finances or financial implications anytime there's a grid collapse. So what is going on now does not help anybody. Whether you talk about government or you talk about us as distribution company. For instance, we have band A now. Band A is one of the bands. We have band A, band B, band C, band D, and band E. The purpose of band A is to ensure we give you, we call it service-based tariff. We are paying so much so that we can give you a minimum of 20 hours, so it's 20 to 24 hours of electricity.
Interesting.
And if the grid collapses, how can I give you 20 hours?
Interesting. Just because of time, would have to wrap up quickly. I would like to wrap up with this question. Sir, you've mentioned that Nigeria is currently, functioning with a 47 years old transformer that needs, to be changed. And then you also did mention the need for the government to pour more resources into that sector. I would like to ask you, what is your view on the level of investment in Nigeria's power sector? And I also want to know, are there any ongoing reforms to improve the situation?
Well, I've just said it. At the Senate hearing that we had 2 days ago, um, all stakeholders were there. The Senate Committee of Power, headed by their Senator Abaribe, uh, it was agreed that there's a need for more allocation to the power sector by the government to take care of their own part of the power sector, of the value chain. Um, I believe that it will get better, and we just need to be patient because you have to look at the percentage allocation for the power sector. Of course, government also have to take care of other things like road infrastructure and so many other things. There are a lot of decay in our system such that there's need for more investment. Government may also begin to think about private sector participation in the transmission grid. But these are all issues for the government. But I can confirm that uh, government appears to be taking the right step to ensure that this thing does not occur again. That one I
Thank
can
you
confirm.
so much, Chief Sunday Odotan. We're really grateful that you joined us this morning. So much light has been shed, and I'm happy about the ongoing procedures that are currently being put in place, like you have mentioned, to ensure that this issue is critically looked into. And that's our bit this morning here in Lagos studio on TMI. I'm Jadel Simon. Thank you for joining us this morning.